Words are free. It's how you use them that may cost you. Can you change someone's behavior without hurting their feelings just by avoiding a simple 3-letter word? Believe it or not, it's possible. The word we're talking about is but. Most people start a critique with a sincere compliment. However, they often turn their sentence into a critique by using the word but. For example, to change the behavior of a child who doesn't want to study, we might say, "We're proud of you for raising your grades this term, but if you had studied more math, you could have done even better." In this case, the child feels encouraged until they hear the word but. After that, they begin to doubt the sincerity of the first part of the sentence. To them, this sentence feels like a disguised criticism of their failure. This perspective increases tension and prevents us from achieving our goal of changing the child's study habits. So, what's the solution? It's very simple. By replacing the word but with and, you change everything. Let's look at the same sentence again. "We're proud of you for raising your grades this term, and if you continue working this way, you can improve your math grade next term as well." In this version, the child feels genuinely praised. The criticism about their failure hasn't followed the compliment. The intended message is now very clear and given without criticism. Directly pointing out someone's mistakes can hurt sensitive individuals, but showing them indirectly can work wonders by eliminating the sting of criticism. So, show people their mistakes indirectly. Is there someone at school or work you don't get along with? Or is it your spouse that you frequently have problems with and disagree with? Maybe it's your mother, father, or child. We are complex and social creatures. We have to be this way because otherwise loneliness would be inevitable. This can lead to a more depressive and troubled state. Physical solitude is almost impossible in today's world, but emotional loneliness is at its peak. Even in good relationships, we all face problems with those around us. For some, this becomes unbearable, almost like a state of madness, while others manage by keeping it to a minimum. When you buy a new device, the first thing you do is read the user manual to avoid breaking it or damaging it. So why don't we read the user manual for humans? One such manual that has greatly benefited my life is Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Some of you may have read it. However, as the book recommends, it's beneficial to revisit these techniques periodically because human memory tends to forget. In other words, we forget. It's truly a remarkable book with many lessons to learn. So, if you want to live a more peaceful life and influence or persuade people, stay tuned. We'll discuss a few simple but highly effective techniques from this incredible book. Wouldn't you like to make your life easier by influencing people? Then let's dive a little deeper. Renowned psychologist B.F. Skinner demonstrated through his experiments that animals rewarded for good behavior learn more quickly and easily than those punished for bad behavior. History is full of examples showing that criticism doesn't work. Lincoln famously quoted the Bible saying, "Judge not, that ye be not judged." Confucius said, "Do not complain about the snow on your neighbor's roof when your own doorstep is unclean." Similarly, people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. No matter how wrong people might be, they rarely criticize or blame themselves. Criticism forces the other person to defend themselves to prove their righteousness. Thus, it is pointless. Criticizing something someone values hurts their sense of importance, which can be dangerous. When communicating with others, remember that we sometimes deal with irrational individuals. We often try to communicate with people who are emotional, prejudiced, and proud. Instead of criticizing others, try to understand them. Understanding, tolerance, and kindness are far more beneficial than criticism. There's only one way to get people to do what you want. Have you ever thought about it? Yes, only one way. Arouse in the other person an eager want. John Dewey, one of America's famous philosophers, expressed that the most important urge in human nature is the desire to be important. Make the other person feel important. Dale Carnegie says, "Praise is like sunlight to the human spirit. We cannot flower and grow without it." Yet while most of us are quick to offer the cold wind of criticism, we hesitate to give the warm sunshine of praise. History is full of miraculous events created by praise. We all want to be praised and appreciated, and we will do anything for it. However, none of us like insincere and fake praise. The difference between sincere praise and insincere praise is simple. The former is genuine, while the latter is superficial. An honest compliment is far more effective than criticism and mockery. You can't change people by hurting them. To be a good conversationalist, we won't talk about practical tips like pronounce words this way, pay attention to these emphases, or read a lot. As Dale Carnegie emphasized in his book, being a good listener gives the impression that you are a good conversationalist to the other person. So, if you want to be a good conversationalist, you need to be an attentive listener. So, how do we become good listeners? Many people talk instead of listening. Even if their mouth is silent, their mind keeps talking. Most people actually talk to themselves. Instead of listening to the other person, they mentally prepare what they will say until the other person finishes speaking. Silence your mind, just listen. Journalist Isaac F. Marcosson, who interviewed hundreds of famous people, said, "Very important people have told me that they prefer good listeners to good talkers, but the ability to listen seems rarer than almost any other good trait." To attract interest, show interest, ask questions that the other person will be happy to answer. Encourage people to talk about themselves and their achievements. For example, if someone is interested in football, talking to them about golf and asking questions about golf will make them lose interest in you. Try to focus on the topics that the people you want to attract are interested in. Remember, the people you talk to are much more interested in their own desires and problems than yours. A person's toothache means more to them than a famine that kills 1 million people. Next time you start a conversation, keep this in mind. When Theodore Roosevelt was in the White House, he confessed that if he could be right 75% of the time, he would reach the highest measure of his expectation. If you're not sure that 75% of what you do is right, why do you point out other people's mistakes? You can tell someone they're wrong with words, a look, an emphasis, or a gesture, but do you think they'll agree with you when you do this? They never will. Because when you do this, you attack their mind, judgment, honor, and self-respect, provoking them to attack you in return. You can't change people's minds. You could counter them with the logic of Plato or Immanuel Kant, but you still wouldn't change their minds. You'll only hurt them. Never start a conversation with, "I want to prove something to you." This will have negative results because it implies, "I'm smarter than you. Now I'll say a few things, and you'll realize you're wrong." This is a challenge. It creates a desire to oppose and fight within the listener before you even start speaking. No matter how gentle you are, it's very difficult to change people's minds. So why make things harder? Why put obstacles in our way? If you're going to prove something, do it so cleverly and subtly that no one will notice. Alexander Pope put it this way, "Men must be taught as if you taught them not, and things unknown proposed as things forgot." Lord Chesterfield also advised his son, "Be wiser than other people if you can, but don't tell them so." If someone says something you think is wrong, even if you're sure they're wrong, wouldn't it be better to start by saying, "I think differently. I could be wrong. I've often been wrong, but if I am, I'm happy to learn the truth. Let's review the situation together." By admitting you're wrong, you never put yourself in a difficult position. You cut off all arguments and encourage the other person to be honest and open. This allows the other person to also admit they could be wrong. The only way to get the best outcome from an argument is to avoid it altogether. You can't win an argument. Whether you win or lose, you've lost something. Why? Let's say you won a victory over the other person and overturned their ideas, proving their mind doesn't work. Then what? You'll feel good for a while, but what about the other person? You'll have humiliated them. Their pride will be hurt. They will resent you. Also, remember, even if you prove someone's ideas wrong in an argument, they'll continue to defend those same ideas. You may be right, you may be really right, but when it comes to changing someone else's mind, being right will most likely change nothing. Opera tenor John Pierce said, "My wife and I made a pact a long time ago, and we've kept it no matter how angry we've grown with each other. When one yells, the other should listen, because when two people yell, there is no communication, just noise and bad vibrations." Always make the other person feel important. As William James said, the deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You expect approval from those you interact with. You want your true value to be recognized. It's essential for you to feel significant in your world. What you want to hear is genuine praise, not insincere flattery. You want your friends and coworkers to be sincere in their appreciation and generous in their praise. In fact, everyone desires this. Phrases like, "Sorry for the trouble," "Please," "If it's not a bother," and "Thank you" help you navigate daily interactions. These expressions show that you are well-mannered. Almost everyone thinks they are important. If they were made to feel important, many people's lives would change. When talking to people, don't start by discussing the things you disagree on. Emphasize the things you agree on and keep emphasizing them for a while. Demonstrate that you are both working towards the same goal, just with different methods. Start your sentences with, "as you mentioned." At the beginning, make the other person say yes, yes as much as possible. Avoid getting a no answer. According to Professor Harry Overstreet, a no response is a very difficult handicap to overcome. Once you say no, your personality and pride prevent you from changing that response. Even if you later feel that saying no was wrong, you have to think about your precious pride. You feel you must stick to your word. Therefore, it's very important for a person to start responding with a positive answer. Socrates is one of the most famous philosophers in history. What method did Socrates use? Did he tell people about their mistakes? No, that wasn't Socrates' style. He was too smart for that. His method is now called the Socratic method and is based on getting a yes-yes response. Socrates would ask questions that made the other person say yes and get a series of positive responses. So, ask at least 2 easy questions that elicit a yes response before asking the tough question you want a yes answer to. When you've gotten yes answers to the previous questions, it's much easier to get a yes to your final crucial question. When you're about to tell someone they're wrong, remember Socrates and ask gentle questions that will get a yes, yes answer. There's a beautiful Chinese proverb reflecting Eastern wisdom: slow and steady wins the race. If you anticipate negative feedback or criticism, it's smart to acknowledge your own faults before someone else points them out. Additionally, self-criticism is often easier to handle than criticism from others. By doing this, you can change the attitude of someone who might have reacted angrily and instead evoke their compassion. A person's facial expression is more important than the clothes they wear. Psychologist Professor James V. McConnell from the University of Michigan shares his insights on smiling. People who smile tend to manage, teach, and sell more effectively, and to raise happier children. There's far more information in a smile than a frown. That's why encouragement is a much more effective teaching device than punishment. Don't feel like smiling? Here's what you need to do. First, force yourself to smile. If you're alone, whistle or hum a tune. Act as if you're already happy. This will lead you to happiness. Psychologist and philosopher William James explains it like this: action seems to follow feelings, but really action and feeling go together. And by regulating the action, which is under the more direct control of the will, we can indirectly regulate the feeling, which is not. If you've lost your cheerfulness, the way to regain it is to act and speak as if you were already happy. Everyone in the world seeks happiness. There's only one way to find it: control your thoughts. Happiness depends on inner conditions, not external ones. Shakespeare said, "There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so." The source of everything is desire, and every sincere prayer is answered. This book, which lays out these principles, was first published back in 1937 and is still super relevant today. It's definitely a must-have for everyone's bookshelf. As the author emphasized, it is very beneficial to remember these principles from time to time, even every month. What are the things most people learn too late in life? Are there things you wish you had known earlier? How different would your life be if you knew them? This video is one you should watch to avoid saying "I wish I had known." For a life with high awareness and more happiness, to improve friendships and influence people.